welcome to the Coaches Show. I'm Adam Howe, and we are entering week 4 of the high school football season. Today, we've got Wildcats boss, head coach Ryan Boyer with us. Coach, thanks for joining us again.
I appreciate it.
All right, so we're looking at a 9-game regular season. The first game of districts is your 10th.
Yep.
So if a team breaks down their season into thirds,
Yep.
we're looking pretty good.
Yes, and that's exactly how we do it. We tell the kids, hey, first third's down, and able to go 3-0. We're very proud of that. Now we get into that middle third, and to me personally, I think that's your biggest challenge because the news worn off, and you're not quite close enough to playoffs yet to see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. And so now it's a big focus time.
Right. So we moved to 3-0, like you said, and we did that with a 39-0 win over Midway last Friday night. So kind of to go over the game a little bit and kind of break it down. In the first half, we get a touchdown pretty early in the first quarter. That was Brady Slavens to Tayton Boyer touchdown pass. 2-point wasn't any good, but 6-0 early. So then we go 12-0. That was another Brady touchdown pass. This time a 63-yard bomb to Grant Chapman. Found him down the right seam there. 2-point conversion, no good. So 12-0, and then went to 18-0 at halftime, and that was, like you mentioned last week, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Mm-hmm. Brady breaks a big one, and this time it was a 68-yard touchdown run that made it 18-0 at half. I know that there were a couple defensive stops in there, a turnover in there. Kind of talk to us about the first half.
Yeah, it's our big stress last week was first down on both sides of the ball. Getting that first down, getting our routine. Kids did a great job of doing that and distributing the ball, across the board. One thing, and again, I know you guys are more stat guys than we are, but we talked about in our Monday meeting, I think we've had, 6 or 7 different guys be able to score through 3 games, which is always nice. One, it keeps kids motivated, but 2, it makes it difficult for defense to plan on just one guy.
Well, and like you said, keeping the kids motivated. Now you're talking, hey, this might be my week.
Yeah.
So in practice, somebody may kind of step up and you say, you know what, we can give this guy the ball, and it might be his week this Friday.
Yeah.
So
and that's what we always tell them, guys. We trust you. You wouldn't be out here if we didn't trust you. And so it's nice when it can all come full circle,
right?
And those things happen.
So then after the half, we take 18-0. Then we go 24-0 on another Slavens touchdown run. 32-0 after a Tayton Boyer touchdown run. And then that time we did convert the 2-point conversion.
Yes.
So that made it 32-0. And then we get a 40-yard touchdown pass from Tayton to Cam Sievers.
Yes.
And that was a bullet.
It
was a nice pass. And then we have an extra point converted, which we think is maybe the first in your time here. So
yes. Second half, again, telling the kids, hey, we got the ball coming out. Let's get right back after it, and stressing not just Friday night, but also into this week. Let's finish these drives. Let's not leave points on the board. And we were able to. Brady got his ankle stepped on a little bit, and that's how we had to pop Tayton in there, and we always want our kids to be prepared. He'd been practicing in there all week, so he was ready, was able to have some success. And then, like I said, on the extra point, it's something we've been practicing for weeks. But I know for a fact that, in the last 5 years, that's our first one.
So quite an accomplishment there. So we got that monkey off the back.
Oh, yeah.
So a 39-0 win. And then, of course, in that second half, I also want to mention special teams. We'll get to them here in a minute, too. But we came up with a punt block this week. So last week it was fumble recoveries. This week it's a punt block. And really we're clicking on all 3 phases again.
It really is. And that's something that we talked about to the kids, especially on Monday, a little bit after the game, but especially Monday when we had all their attention. Just walking through each phase of it and how, each week we've improved and everybody stepped up and again, being different guys. When we go through, again, our tackle chart, our defense stat sheet, there's not just one guy, glaring with the most tackles. And
right.
Like I said, special teams, it's, last week it was Nick Bagley making a block. Week 4 is Merle with the big recoveries, and each week it's somebody different, and that's what we want.
No, that's a total team concept. So
yes, for sure.
That's when you preach a team culture. That's how you get it. So a few stats out of last week's game. The Wildcats still, pounding the ball away on the ground. So 35 rushes last week, 313 yards, still an average of 8.9 yards per rush, and then 3 touchdowns. And then in the air, went 4 for 6. That's Brady and Tayton combined for 133 yards, 3 more touchdowns. So a total of 446 yards of offense. Again, we'll get to some total numbers here in a second. Breaking down the boys, Brady finished 11 for 42, 11 rushes for 142 yards, 2 touchdowns. He added, I think that's getting up to the 12 or 13, maybe even 14 touchdowns. So a great fantasy player on Friday nights, right?
Yes.
And then he was 3 for 4 through the air for 94 yards and 2 more scores. Nick, give us the hard yards, 9 rushes for 53 yards. Gage, same thing, 6 for 47. And then we'll talk about Tayton. I know you don't like to do this one probably,
right,
but we're going to make you. And Tayton had a big night.
He did.
You know, it's always hard to compliment your own, but we have to when they're due.
Yep.
So Tayton finished 4 rushes for 34 yards and a touchdown. He caught 2 balls for 31 yards and a touchdown, and got the trifecta when he passed for one, a 39-yard touchdown to Cam. So you said Tayton got some practice reps last week. Tell us about Tayton, and I know Dad in you is going to say, well, I believed he could do it.
Yeah.
Talk to us about how prep went in the last week for Tayton to do what he did.
Yeah, and ironically, you know, Brady in week 2, he had dinged up his shoulder a little bit, and so we want to make sure he was healing properly and was going to be good to go, and always want to be prepared. So last week, Tayton got quite a few reps, more than normal. You know, just again, we always want to prepare both ways, and Brady came out, shoulder was fine, and then he tweaks his ankle, and so which is fine. You know, we didn't skip a beat. He popped right in, and Riley Taylor popped in at tight end, and again, it was just the situation presented itself. You know, in the first half, he caught his first pass, not his first pass, but his first touchdown.
Right.
And you know, again, things that we work all the time. And then when he got in there, it was actually a play. You know, it's a dive play, and we kind of fumbled the snap a little bit, but the kids did what they were coached, which is, you go, quarterback will follow. We have all of our blockers there. Read his blocks and was able to break one there, and then late. And I always remind people, you know, when we're up, we're not one to throw the ball. However,
right,
down in distance, sometimes you have to. And so Cameron ran a great route, and like I said, Tayton threw a very, very nice ball to him, and they connected for that. And I don't think it was till the way home that I was talking with Coach Morrison, and we kind of put together that we call pulling the hat trick there. Was able to accomplish all those, and that's something that you don't see every night.
Right.
Certain things have to sometimes happen for those.
And not that you want to put the ball in the air late in the game, but we're not going to blame Tayton either. He had a chance to shine, right?
Yep,
so
exactly.
He steps up, and it's about taking advantage of opportunities.
Yep.
And he did it, and showed us that we have a capable backup if something does happen to Brady, and then if not, he's capable on the outside too. So. Others, Grant Chapman caught a nice ball, 63 yards, kind of had to make a little bit of adjustment downfield, but did.
Yes.
And came back to it, and he scores his first touchdown. And then Cam, typical Cam, two rushes for 27 yards, but still caught the touchdown pass. So I think he's got one in every game this year.
Yeah, Cameron, he's that guy. He finds a way. You know, he's that utility guy. It's hard to account for him, but teams have to know where he's at on the field, and couldn't be more proud for Grant. You know, Grant, he works so hard and does all the things right. He's great in the offseason, great with our younger kids, just a great teammate altogether. And so it's great to see him have that success. And with Nick and Gage, ironically, you know, they combined for an even 100 yards.
Right.
And just they grind it out. And, you know, and I know they've been able to find the end zone also this year. And so, yeah, it was just across the board pretty good unit.
And then, of course, we convert our first extra point.
Yes.
And that was Thomas Howe.
Yes.
And he's one of our exchange students that we brought over. Of course, he missed his first one.
Yep.
And you got to think that there's nerves kicking in there.
Oh, yeah.
But then went out and got his other one. So tell us, what was he like on the sideline after he came to you?
He was pretty excited. You know, the first one, he's a little wide right. There's actually a second one. The exchange wasn't really clean there. And then, you know, that third, and I just told him, hey, the only way we're going to do it is live practice. And so he got that third one, and I think he got so mauled by the team, I didn't get a chance to get to him until afterwards. And he said, I apologize for the first two. I said, don't apologize. I said, you know, let's let's keep going, and we can't plan to keep using him because he's definitely a weapon, and he has a pretty big leg. So hopefully we can get the extra point part down and maybe stretch out on some field goals.
And hopefully the home crowd gets a chance to see it this week.
Without a doubt.
So, talking about the team, and we're going to go into some yardages and stuff like that we've accumulated for the first 3 games. And 115 points, that's through 3 games, a 38.3 point per game average. Mm-hmm. Not bad. So, 440 yards of total offense.
Yeah.
So we were right at that at 446 on Friday night. We've eclipsed the 1,000-yard mark as a team on Friday night and averaging 340 yards there.
Yeah.
The really nice thing is almost 8 yards per carry.
Right.
So, and then 302 passing yards total, modest, but 25.2 yards per reception. So, we don't pass much, but when we do, we get the chunk.
Yeah.
So that's what's nice. But, eclipsing that 1,000-yard mark with those guys for the first 3 games, that's pretty nice. We'll get to the defensive part here in a second, but we've outscored opponents 115 to 20.
Yeah. No, and and like I said, we talk defense in a minute, but it's one, and our kids are bought in, and they realize, when we can get it done on the ground, it does open up so many other things. And the nice thing too is so many of those guys, like Severs, he's involved in the run game and the pass game. Obviously Brady, run, pass, Tatum, same deal, and we're comfortable with our backs coming out, and we haven't had to show a ton of things in our pass game yet.
Right.
And so again, it sets stage, and sometimes you see teams that they don't necessarily have an identity, or they're confused on what their identity is, where this is who we are. Kids take a ton of pride in it, and the biggest group that always gets overlooked is the 5 up front. That old line, they have improved so much from week to week. We were just talking the other day about where we were at the Jamboree, just a month ago compared to where we're at now. And those guys, they're talking and they're making calls, and they make checks on the field that that's not what we're calling. That's that's
right.
what they're seeing, and they're adjusting to.
And we've done that with some new guys.
Yes.
Up front. Now,
yes.
We can't call them new anymore because they're 3 weeks in.
Right,
so,
right.
It's kind of like buying a new car. It's only new until the day you drive it off the lot.
That's exactly right.
But defensively, we'll get to that here. Brothers, Cam and Riley,
yes.
Taylor, they lead us on defense last week. So Cam had 5 tackles, Riley had 4.5, and Riley's one that's kind of come in and played some big minutes and maybe that we didn't expect to get those from.
Yeah, when you're talking a utility guy, when he's on defense, it's kind of a rare deal. He can line up and play that D tackle, and then he's also playing outside linebacker.
And he can line up and play that D tackle, but remind us how big Riley is.
I'd say soaking wet. Riley's probably 160, 170 pounds. He may have put on some weight, but yeah, and 5'9" and right. So, but such a hard-nosed kid, has such a motor on him. He just goes, and sometimes we got to reel him back in a little bit, that's okay. But yeah, they had a hard time Friday night accounting for him, and then when they were able to, then his teammates, his brother, and others right. were able to make some plays.
And I know he was making plays, and obviously his stats speak for themselves. But what's funny was I got a text message. I'm sitting up there in the booth on Friday night, and I got who's number 32?
Oh, yeah.
So that was impressive. And guess who 32 is? That's Riley.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Of course, then Nick Bagley has 4 tackles. Jace DePriest had 4 tackles. And, of course, Nick also had the big pump block.
Yes.
There in the game, too. As a team, only giving up 20 points through 3 games. So, doing the math, that's 6.7 points per game, under 7. So, we're giving up under a touchdown a game. Only 164 yards, so under 200 is nice.
Yes.
2 sacks, 4 fumble recoveries, 4 interceptions. We're +8 on the turnover ratio.
And that's big. And, you're forcing those, but you're also not giving them up, I think we had 1 interception at the very beginning of the year.
Right.
And that's about
Game
it.
1.
Yep. And so, to that, like we talk every week, defense be stingy,
right.
and we stress that a ton. And these guys, again, you go through who's forcing them, who's getting them, who's intercepting them. It seems to be different guys every week, but to that, it's their defensive buy-in to what the plan is, and understanding. Just Friday night, we really stressed to them all week. they like to throw it deep, and then they hit us with some stuff underneath, and that's okay. And that's what we told the guys.
But then we saw Cam shut that down when he came up with an
Yep.
interception. Actually, kind of intercepted that ball from Brady. So I think it was in Brady's hands, and Cam said, "No, I'll take it."
That's how Brady will explain it too. Oh yeah. He made sure to let him know.
All right. So offense is potent, defense is tough. Special teams are special.
Yeah.
So we've seen fumble recoveries, block punts. We finally saw an extra point.
Yep.
Starting to see it all in in that phase. So kind of talk to us about special teams. What goes into that during the week in preparation? Who's the coach? Somebody maybe needs to get some credit there.
Yeah. And all of us as staff work it. I'm not taking credit, but I am who run our special teams. And but to that, I want our kids to know that it's such an important part of the game. And too many times it does get overlooked. And obviously as a staff, we put our name on everything. I put my name on everything. But with that, it's just neat to see the buy-in. And again, it's an opportunity for some of those younger guys to see playing time on Friday night, get that experience. We always say, your quickest ticket on the field as a freshman is through special teams.
You bet. And we saw that, Drake Merle.
Yes, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
So, all right, so the Wildcats moved to 3-0 with a 39-0 win. And we're going to take a break right now, and then we'll be back and look ahead to Sherwood.
J&D Pharmacy Home Medical Supply is a locally owned and operated pharmacy. Our pharmacists and pharmacy technicians will provide you with the personal service you deserve. We are a full-service home medical equipment company and accept Medicare, Medicaid, and most commercial insurance. Stop by our pharmacy drive-up window, where we have 2 convenient lanes located in the rear of the building. We look forward to serving you now and in the future with all of your health needs. J&D Pharmacy Home Medical Supply. People helping people.
All right, and we're back to week 4, looking ahead to the Sherwood Marksmen here on the Coaches Show. I'm Adam Howe with Wildcats head coach Ryan Boyer, and we're going to look forward to this week's game featuring the Wildcats hosting the Sherwood Marksmen. Wildcats, of course, 3-0. Sherwood 0-3. 7 o'clock at home, Randy Morrow Field. Coach, what we've seen from Sherwood so far, a 50-0 loss at Holden in week 1. 47-0 loss versus Butler in week 2, a very good Butler team.
Yep.
And then a 52-6 loss versus Lafayette County in week 3. So they've been outscored 149-6 this year. They won their first game of the season last year over Holden, but haven't seen the win column since August of last year.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare your team and keep them motivated for a game like this? Because with social media, stuff like that, the boys know this too.
Right.
So how do you prepare for this game?
And it is kind of tough initially, and what kind of like how you walked through, we said, hey, Holden's a team that's very much improved, played very close to Boonville.
And Holden is who they got their win against.
Yes, yeah,
last year.
Very much improved. Butler's, like I said, they're rolling, and then Lafayette County, which is also Higginsville. Yeah, a lot of people get that
Huskers.
confused. Yeah,
right.
Very very good ball club, and so quality opponents throughout. And and that's why with our kids we said let's get into the film. Let's get off the stat sheet. Let's get out of the media and showing what they're doing, because they're moving the ball well. They're having small successes on the field. They've had to overcome some injuries and some different things there where some of their guys have been out. But with it, again, we're into the second third of the year. We're trying to go 1-0 for the week. Trying to eliminate these things, and I know we'll talk homecoming in a minute, but
right.
All these different distractions. It's just dialing back in, and something else that our older kids have taken a lot of pride in so far this year is they want to play our game, do what we need to do, and then they get to see that, hey, that gives an opportunity for these younger kids to get in at the end of the game. If like last week JV wasn't able to play on Monday, so hey, let's give them some time on Friday night,
right?
And because they can remember what it's like being JV and having that opportunity.
So Wildcats, of course, our offense. Let's talk about our offense versus theirs. Of course, we just talked about us averaging 440 yards per game and 339 of those going on the ground. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about how we attack the marksman defense.
Yeah, we're going to stick to what we do. With that, again, up front, they fire out pretty well, and they're very tall in the secondary. They don't have their heights on the roster, but we're sitting there kind of eyeball him against other guys. The number 5 for him, he looks 6'3", 6'4" on film, and so, but across the board, secondary matches pretty well in the height. Middle linebackers, it's a 4-3 scheme. They get downhill pretty well, and so again, when we're watching it, again they're coming out of the gate firing out really hard, and so to our guys, it's hey, don't come out still being on the float for the parade.
Right.
I said you got to be ready to go, because when teams are struggling like this, you give them a little bit, they'll take it and run.
And nobody likes to there's nothing like spoiling somebody else's homecoming.
Without a doubt.
So-
Without a doubt. And that's how I remind our kids. I said, don't think they don't know. I
Yeah.
said, they know.
So then we'll talk about our defense versus their offense. What can we expect to see from them when they come out?
They like a lot of eye back, 2 receiver, 1 receiver sets, and they get downhill well. They do a little bit of option, and then they execute pretty well in their pass game. And like I said, I think their biggest thing right now is just sustaining drives. They're moving the ball well. They just they may turn it over, or a penalty here sets them back, and it kind of reminded me when we were playing for Sales, and they're getting down and doing some things. Just finishing their drives is their biggest struggle right now.
And what you see with a team that now's lost, 8 or 9 games in a row, and been shut out 2 of their 3 games this year, is that they don't have anything to lose.
Right, without a doubt.
They have nothing to lose here.
Yeah.
So, and not only spoiling the game for us in front of a home crowd at homecoming, but as far as establishing themselves, and we talk about identities of teams and stuff like that, they're going to get that first win somewhere.
Yes. Yep.
And for them, it would be we're better than Friday night.
Without a doubt. And that's what's tough when you prepare for some of these teams. We saw in film, I think it was last week, maybe the week before, but they at one point did a pitch pass basically out of their own end zone, and you don't see that ever really, but same deal. They needed a spark, they needed something to happen, and so when we're talking, guys, things you may see, well, here's what you may see, but be ready to see things that you haven't seen, and we haven't been able to show you.
You haven't seen since Pee Wee.
Yeah, exactly. You just never know, and like I said, they got nothing to lose, and so in that regard, it's still, what we stress to our kids, we got to be disciplined. We need to fire out. We need to win the line of scrimmage, both sides of the ball, and then trust your keys and reads.
And like you said, play our game.
Play our game. Yes.
Play our game, because they're coached well. Coach Paul Carney is the head coach up there, and he came and had a lot of success down at Osceola.
Yes.
And then he knows that he's building for the future. 25 kids right now, but you said only 2 seniors.
Yeah.
So he knows that these guys, they may not even be playing for this year, but they're playing for the future, and they've got something to establish.
Without a doubt. And, credit to those 2 seniors, but they have they have pretty good freshman class there, and a lot of their skill guys and things like that, those are, junior guys and with some sophomores sprinkled in. So, yeah, if I'm him, it's like I said, hey, my 2 here, appreciate you. And you're our captains.
Thanks for being here.
but to the other ones, it's, hey, let's get better each week, and we're building this, for the years ahead.
Right. All right. So we mentioned homecoming. A lot of things going on this week. So I jotted some down. We've got Spirit Week all week. I don't know what kind of outfits and costumes you've seen this week. I've seen a couple at my house.
Interesting.
Interesting to say the least. I'm sure that there's been some staff partake.
Yep.
I think I heard Mr. Wright showed up on his Harley yesterday for bikers versus surfers, or Tuesday or something like that.
Yep.
So that's always fun. We've got a parade going on today. So 12:45, I think it starts.
Yes.
So everybody will meet down at MK White Drive around 12:15, I think. We've got Kings, we've got Queens, we've got the class of 71 is here. They're going to celebrate their 50th reunion.
Yes.
So something for everybody again, like we say, and then something a little bit different that we do here that you've started doing is for the homecoming game, you always do a pregame invite, and you send out you're good at sending out texts and emails and making contacts. And what we do there is we invite players from the past, the present, which obviously they're there.
Right.
So
right.
from the past and then the future, these youth guys that are down there playing right now, maybe kindergarten through 6th grade, 7th, 8th, you invite them to all come in to the locker room for pregame. And that's when, if people don't know and haven't been in there, that's where, usually we see the offensive coordinator talk, we see the defensive coordinator talk, and then we see you get up and talk.
Right.
And we invite them to kind of sit with the boys,
Yes.
with the team, and they go up there, and the little guys can sit with their favorite player on our
Yeah.
team or whatever. But talk to us a little bit about that, how that tradition got established, and why is it important?
It's something, like I said, when we came back 5 years ago, just sitting there, we meet in the gym for pregame, and that's something that we did when I played, and I want to bring that tradition back. And then at halftime, we go back to the locker room. And, with that, you have the state championship teams or state qualifying teams and all the banners, and on the walls. And I can remember playing, and our coaches, Coach Barry, Coach Pay, Coach Morrow, mentioning, hey, these are the guys, these are the teams you want to be, and you would see that. And then I can remember, when we had our state run, we were just talking earlier, 20 years ago, in that playoff run, and I can remember Coach Barry at one point saying, hey, you guys are these guys now. If you win this game, we're going. And so to that, very, very neat experience, but the more you can bring that to life, the neater the experience is, I think. And so that's where we said, hey, bring in the past, and that's what homecoming is about. That's
Sure.
It is a lot of distractions, but like I tell anybody, that's part that I do love, is honoring those that went before you. And then the other part is, the future. And we work with those youth, and our youth coaches do so much to help run our system, and just have those kids out. They come out after we get done practicing, and it's so neat to see our future. And we talk to our kids where it's like, hey, you remember just a few years ago, you were these guys.
You were sitting in that stand, right?
And so for those guys to come in, and I can remember, again, being in elementary school and the high school players coming out and coming to the cafeteria and giving autographs or doing the pep assembly things.
And coming
like
to
that.
read
Coming
in
to
the
read, yes.
classrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah, which we're doing later this season. But it was just so neat. I mean, it was so neat and I try to explain to our kids, I said, yeah, you would watch college football and you'd watch NFL, but when we played backyard football, it was, who are you going to be? You wanted to be Jonathan Gott, or you wanted to be some of these guys that came before you. And so it's neat. And I know I was always starstruck when I was around high school players.
Sure.
When I was younger. And so yeah, to bring that all together, and to see some of these families where, and I'll use Brady's family as an example. Dad played it, Brady's playing it, brother's coming.
Going to.
Yeah, and all three phases there to see that connection. And so very neat, and I can say, like I said, say the same for my own kids. And
Right.
So yeah, it's a really neat deal. It's and we told all the youth coaches, middle school coaches, but for alum, if you just meet us down by the high school gym, 6:30, you come in, we'll get you situated, and then you'll actually walk out with us, and then the youth and middle school kids are actually going to run through the tunnel after us. But we invite anybody, everybody. I know years past, you may not fit in it, but you are welcome to wear your jersey or your Letterman's jacket, because it's neat for those kids to see. And the big thing we stress to them is, one, the number you wear, you don't just represent yourself. You represent those who went before you and the ones that are looking up to you, but also, and number one is always what's across your chest.
Right.
It's always the most important.
Yeah, and we see a lot of times, a lot of the young guys do take advantage of this. They love it. I've got one.
Yeah.
I've got one that will not miss it.
Yes.
And he'll be there, and they like to go up there. But what we'd like to stress is that the guys that are coming back, the guys that are just happen to be in town, or the guys that do live in town that come to the ball games, and it doesn't matter if you played back in the 70s when we played on the hard grass, and not that I played back in the 70s, but back when things started, or if you were here during the early 90s for those championship runs, or your championship runs there in the early thousands, we want you to be there too.
Yep.
A lot of the young guys, they love it, but getting, I'm going to stay away from the older word, but a lot of the experienced players, maybe we'll say, come down and join them. Get your blood pumping a little bit, because I can tell you, when you hear that offensive coordinator speak, the defensive coordinator, and the head coach speaking, maybe it brings back a little bit of that green and black flowing through you, you know,
No
and
doubt.
kind of gets you fired up for Friday night. Heck, if you want to run out the tunnel, I'm sure he'll let you too.
Hey, whatever. We're already there. You get going.
So, again, homecoming this week. A lot of distractions going on, like we talked about, the Spirit Week and Parade and Kings and Queens and reunions. But, you know, at the end of the night, the main event is still the kickoff at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
Distractions you touched on a little bit earlier, but as far as keeping the guys focused and stuff like that, I guess they know after that youth runs out there and after the experienced guys run out there, you know, when we hit the field, we touch that W.
Mm-hmm.
It's game time.
Without a doubt. And, you know, our focus, we always have a focus piece on our scouting reports this week was let the number one thing be the number one thing. And, you know, and we talk it every year. What's the one thing that homecoming is based around? You know, and our kids know it by now. Hey, it's a football game. And tell them, hey, we want you to have fun. We want you to experience homecoming week just as much as everybody else. But, again, I understand everybody comes back to see you, and this is what it all revolves around. You know, coordinations at halftime, you know,
Right.
and all these things. And so, and I always credit our seniors the most with it because they do a great job of keeping our kids dialed in. And, hey, school's out. You know, today is Cowboys versus Rappers or something like that. So today, you know, or yesterday.
You didn't wear your outfit in.
I didn't. So put your gold chains away or your cowboy hat, and let's get dialed back in.
Right. And regular events going on this week, besides all the homecoming festivities. Quarterback Club, we've got Truman Lake Bikes hosting. That's for all Quarterback Club members. That'll be in the cafeteria. Of course, we've got Booster Club concessions, the Spirit Trailer. If you're in that class of 71 and you're coming back for your 50-year reunion, or if you're just an alum that's coming back for homecoming, you don't have your current Warsaw shirt, grab it. They'll be there on Friday night. So last but not least, we wanted to touch on some youth guys.
Yes.
So they all opened up their season last weekend and did pretty good.
Yes.
So
Yep.
overall, we saw the first graders and second graders. They play flag and they play in the Sedalia League.
Yes.
So first graders, they're just touching the football for the first time, a
Yeah.
lot of them. So they ended up losing. They lost a 28-0 game. And is that where Bronx is at?
That's where he's at.
That's where
yeah.
Bronx is at. So
Yeah.
I've seen pictures of that one, but still, I think they even played a defending champion. So,
Yeah.
you know, you lose 28-0 to a defending champion the first time touching the football, not too bad.
Yep.
Second grade, though, they won 13-12.
Right.
So that's where the winning started. And of course, I know I don't want to leave anybody out, but I know Billy Dulesky, Mike Ferguson, Stan Adler,
Yes.
a slew of other guys are helping coach these first and second graders, and it takes them.
Yes.
You know, I've been there, and coaching flag will test your patience.
Oh, yes.
You know, or
Yes.
coaching first and second graders anywhere. So I do not envy that teacher.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, those guys do a great job with those guys.
They do. It's those and Kellner and Muldoon.
And guys and gals. I think
Yeah,
there's a
well,
girl playing down there, too.
yes.
So,
Yeah.
and then third and fourth grade, fifth and sixth grade, they, of course, play tackle in the Lake Area Youth Football League. Third and fourth, picked up a big win, 6-0 over Skyline last week. I was there for the end of that game, got to watch that one. They held on 4th and 1 at the goal line and got a big stop.
Yep.
So that was cool. Fifth and sixth grade, I happened to be there for that one, too. That was a game against Windsor, and I don't know how to say it, but it was a 54-0 win for the Wildcats.
Yeah.
So a lot of good plays
lot of
in
things
there,
go
a lot
right.
of good players, defense, offense, everything. You know, we you know, those guys are a really great group. And then of course Coach Ironman, Coach Slavens, the other junior high coaches there.
Coach Bybee.
Coach Bybee.
Yep, new to us this year.
7th and 8th grade, they went on Tuesday night, I believe.
Yep.
And got their first win of the year, 42-12 over El Dorado Springs. So, a lot of good stuff going on that youth side too.
It really is, and I know those guys have been chomping at the bit to get after it, and it's great to see, and you know, and it's great to see the wins, but it's greater to see the amount of kids that are out participating in it, and like I said, we get out of practice, we get to see it every night, you know, and see those guys coming out, and so again, hey, you know, hats off to those kids, to their parents, and then to all the coaches and Drew Burdick, who, you know, president of the league there. Everybody does a great job and works so well together for what's the main thing, which is those kids.
Right. Yeah, and I'm looking here, it just made sense to me here. We played 6 games last week, counting varsity down all the way down to the first grade. And it looks like out of 6 games, the Wildcats threw 3 shutouts.
Yeah. Hey.
So
Not a
pretty
bad
nice
night.
there. So
Yep.
anyway, we invite you to meet us at Sherwood tonight. Kickoff at 7 p.m. You can also catch the parade early in the day. That'll be coming straight up Main Street here at 12:45. And come out, show your Wildcat pride. Then we'll see you at 7 o'clock for the kickoff, Wildcats versus Sherwood. We'll see you next week.
This has been a BCE TV production. Thank you for watching.